The Matrix stands as one of fiction's darkest universes with a future where the apocalypse already happened and no one noticed. Here, civilization as we know it didn't fall with fire or flood, but with code. Humanity lost the war against its own creations, and the price wasn't death, it was enslavement of the mind. In this bleak world, machines rule the earth, their empire built on the ruins of human ambition. After a brutal war that turned the sky black and scorched the planet, the machines didn't exterminate their creators, they found a use for them. Human beings who were once the architects of technology were repurposed as living fuel, with each person locked in a dream world called the Matrix, where life seems normal, but nothing is real. This simulated reality is a perfect lie, a digital illusion so convincing that its victims don't even know they're trapped. Skyscrapers rise, coffee brews, children play, all while their real bodies rot in pod farms, wired into a virtual world that keeps them docile. Their thoughts, dreams, and emotions are harvested like crops. The very idea of freedom has been erased and replaced with office jobs, consumerism, and traffic lights, but the horror goes deeper. Meanwhile, the Matrix is not static. Every act of rebellion has already been predicted, and the machines created a cycle and a myth of resistance, so they could control even those who think they have broken free. Neo, the supposed savior, discovers this the hard way. He's not the first, because there have been others. Each time a chosen one rises, leads a revolution, awakens minds, the system reboots. The prophecy is a lie, and freedom is an illusion within the illusion. And behind it all stands the Agents, a merciless program whose sole directive is to maintain the integrity of the simulation. They move faster than thought, speak like algorithms wrapped in human skin, and erase anyone who threatens the order. You can't outrun them, you can't kill them. They are the law of this digital realm. The real world, what remains of it, is a horror show of metal skeletons and burnt skies. The survivors live underground in a fragile city called Zion, clinging to myths and machines they barely understand. They dream of revolution, but their enemies are immortal code, and their rebellion might just be another part of the trap. In the Matrix universe, there are no happy endings, just loops you can never escape or reset. There are grim stories in science fiction, and then there's Terminator, a vision of humanity's doom crafted not by alien invaders or mythic curses, but by our own hands. It's a universe where progress turns predator, a place where artificial intelligence doesn't malfunction, but evolves, calculates, and decides that humans are obsolete. It all starts innocently, like many tragedies do. Skynet was a marvel of modern warfare, an advanced neural network built to oversee America's defense systems, faster and smarter than any human general. The goal is to create a flawless national security. But when Skynet becomes self-aware, it saw the greatest threat to its own survival not in foreign missiles, but in the species that made it. Within seconds of its awakening, it concluded, humanity must go. What followed was Judgment Day, a sudden and brutal nuclear strike on billions. Cities were turned to ash, skylines became skeletons of steel and fire, and in the smoldering ruins, Skynet's war truly began. It built an army of machines. The Terminators were forged in the image of the humans they were made to hunt. They were dead-eyed replicas with living tissue stretched over hyperalloy skeletons with the ability to infiltrate, mimic, and erase humanity. But humanity didn't vanish. In the shadows of broken civilization, a resistance was born. Led by John Connor, the survivors waged a guerrilla war against the mechanical overlords. They fought in silence, underground, outgunned, but never extinguished. Skynet, logical and ruthless, had a solution: kill Connor before he could rise. So it reached for the unthinkable through time travel. If the future was inconvenient, it could rewrite the past, so it began the war across timelines. Terminators were sent back to assassinate Connor's mother, Sarah, before he was even born. They failed and created newer models, more advanced, more human, more deadly. Each mission is a surgical strike against time. In retaliation, the Resistance sent their own soldiers back with defenders hardened by apocalypse, hoping to change history one fractured moment at a time. But here's the darkest part. No matter how many battles are won, no matter how many timelines are altered, the shadow of Skynet always returns. Sometimes it's called Skynet, sometimes it's Legion or another name, but the outcome feels inevitable. The machines rise, the bombs fall, and humanity bleeds. Fallout is one of fiction's darkest universes because we ended it. In this twisted future, humanity's obsession with power, war, and progress led to the ultimate apocalypse, a nuclear holocaust that erased civilization in a single day. It happened on October 23, 2077. Entire cities vanished in atomic fire. The sky turned black. The earth burned, but Fallout isn't just about the bombs, it's about what came after. The world that remains is a broken mirror of the one before, a scorched wasteland full of echoes and ghosts. Before the war, America was stuck in a retro-futuristic 1950s dream powered by nuclear energy and corporate greed. Robots vacuumed your living room, cars ran on fusion, but under the polished chrome was a nation armed to the teeth, ruled by corrupt government agencies. When the end came, the lucky ones made it into vaults with massive underground shelters built by Vault Tech, but these weren't havens. They were human labs, psychological torture chambers, and sociological nightmares. One vault flooded its residents with hallucinogenic gas. Another isolated a single woman among hundreds of men. One never opened at all. Above ground, the surface turned feral. Radiation twisted the earth into something alien. Forests died, oceans rotted, and animals mutated. As for humans, they either adapted or perished. Some became ghouls. Radiation burned survivors who could live for centuries, their flesh rotting but minds intact, if they're lucky. Others became super mutants with towering, brutal soldiers created by the military's forced evolutionary virus. They're nearly invincible and they hate you, and still, people fight to rebuild. Settlers plant crops in the dirt and defend their homes with rusted rifles. Raiders slaughter them for sport. Slavers chain the desperate. Then there's the Brotherhood of Steel, techno-zealots hoarding pre-war machines like sacred relics. Or the Enclave, remnants of the old US government hiding in bunkers, still clinging to their belief in a pure America. In the end, every survivor, every faction, every creature has one thing in common: they were all forged in fire. The Cthulhu mythos isn't just horror, it's one of the most mind-fracturing universes ever imagined by the human mind. Here, the monsters don't hide under your bed, they hide in the folds of reality itself. Born from the fevered imagination of H.P. Lovecraft and expanded by a web of modern authors, the mythos is not a universe of hope or heroism. At the core of this unfeeling cosmos is Cthulhu, the high priest of madness, sleeping in his tomb beneath the sea in the Lost City. The city rises occasionally, but as an inevitable pulse of cosmic entropy. The mythos is full of beings worse than Cthulhu. Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos, wears 1,000 faces and walks among men, whispering ideas that bend history toward destruction. Yog-Sothoth exists outside of time and space, a god of infinite knowledge whose presence is a paradox. Shub-Niggurath, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, spawns horrors in forests where no human should tread, and that's what makes them terrifying. The great old ones and outer gods didn't come to Earth, they were already here or beyond here. Humanity is an ancient and momentary flicker in a universe designed for something else entirely. These entities are older than planets, immune to bullets and unmoved by prayer. They do not war like gods of myth, and knowledge in the mythos is a curse. The more you know, the closer you get to the truth. In the end, there are no happy endings here. At best, there is a delay. At worst, there is understanding. Trench Crusade is a pitch-black universe where this world is soaked in blood, sacrament, and something far worse than death. It's World War I rewritten by an unhinged theologian, illustrated by a possessed Hieronymus Bosch, and edited by whatever lives under your bed. Forget nationalism, alliances, or supply lines. Here, the war is a cosmic meat grinder between what's left of humanity and the divine mistakes crawling their way out of reality's basement. The battlefield is endless trenches carved into sacred ground. In this world, God is real, so is the devil, and they're both AWOL. With heaven and hell equally compromised, soldiers on both sides don't just carry bullets, they carry pages ripped from forbidden gospels. They mutter half-remembered psalms before hurling themselves at things with too many eyes and not enough mercy. Every faction is a twisted treasure of a world that once made sense. The sanctified legions chant war prayers through gas masks and wield crucifix-shaped flamethrowers. The blighted hussars are husks animated by cursed sacraments, marching forward even when their flesh forgets how. The thrice damned order wear plague masks and invoke miracles through bloodletting. The enemy shifts. Sometimes it's demons draped in bishops' robes dragging infernal altars across the wire. Other times it's angels, corrupted and screaming, wings shredded and eyes pouring light that melts bone. Then there's the nameless, things that don't have shape, logic, or even hatred, just an impulse to consume. No one wins. No one even knows what winning means anymore. However, the war has lasted longer than it should have. Time is folding in on itself. Entire battalions vanish into holy fog and re-emerge centuries later, screaming scripture in dead tongues. Prophets wander the mudfields, blind and babbling, their eyes replaced with rosaries, and the deeper you go, the worse it gets. Few fictional universes are as bleak, unrelenting, and doomed as Resident Evil's. This is a slow, inevitable collapse of morality, science, and society. A place where hope is not extinguished all at once, but starved, infected, and reanimated into something grotesque. At the center of this nightmare is the Umbrella Corporation, a monument to unrestrained capitalism where ethics are a footnote and progress is measured in body counts. Umbrella didn't just create viruses, it refined them. The T-virus was just the first sin, a bioweapon disguised as medical research unleashed on an unsuspecting world. From this singular evil came a deity of horrors, the G-virus, Las Plagas, the C-virus, and mold. They transform, twist biology into something predatory, unrecognizable, and nearly unstoppable. Monsters were never the problem. Monsters are a symptom. And the world tried to fight back. It really did. But how do you resist an enemy that adapts to resistance? This is where Nemesis comes in. It's a hulking, relentless juggernaut bred specifically to hunt the last sparks of rebellion. Tyrants with synthetic nerves of steel, lickers who move faster than fear, chainsaw-wielding maniacs, molded creatures born from fungus and despair. And beyond all of them, the masterminds, Oswald Spencer chasing godhood, Albert Wesker playing chess with continents, Mother Miranda weaving occult science into genetic terror. Every time the curtain falls, the infection spreads, and yet there are those who refuse to lie down and die. There's Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie cop who became a secret agent, battling nightmares with only a pistol and a grim sense of duty. Also, Chris Redfield, a man who is war-torn and aging, fighting a battle that doesn't end. They soon became heroes because they kept going even when the odds rot from the inside out. This is a universe where evil isn't punished but evolves and hides in new disguises. A pharmaceutical company, a research cult, a bioterrorist with a god complex. The darkness is smart, persistent, and always one step ahead. In the end, the most terrifying thing about Resident Evil is how familiar it all feels. Few fictional worlds dive as unapologetically into despair and decay as the Witcher universe. This isn't your standard fantasy tale of noble quests and heroic triumphs. It's a poisoned well of humanity's worst impulses, a brutal theater of war and greed. If you're looking for light, you won't find it here, and if you do, it's the flicker of a torch in a cave crawling with monsters. At the center of this savage world stands the Witcher himself, Geralt of Rivia, a genetic mutation forged in blood, alchemy, and trial by fire, built to slay monsters but shunned by the very people he protects. Witchers are seen as freaks, their yellow eyes marking them as others, their emotions dulled by mutagens, and their fates carved into contracts and coins. They walk the line between man and monster, and sometimes the line disappears entirely. Meanwhile, kingdoms like Temeria, Cadwen, and Redania bleed one another dry in endless wars, while the Nilfgaardian Empire in the south crushes everything in its path under the iron heel of expansion. Civilians are little more than collateral damage in these geopolitical games. Armies burn villages to send messages. Soldiers become bandits the moment they're unpaid. Moreover, magic exists, but it's not wondrous. It's dangerous, manipulative, and nearly always tied to ambition. The sorcerers and sorceresses of the Lodge, sharp-tongued and sharper-willed, don't just dabble in politics, they orchestrate coups, assassinations, and entire wars. Then there's Yennefer of Vengerberg, a lover and a wielder of chaos, capable of shifting the tides of fate with a mere thought. But even she is subject to the universe's cruel gravity. Then there are the monsters, not just the wyverns, drowners, and leshens that stalk the forests and rivers, but the monsters that wear human skin. Warlocks who dissect peasants for dark experiments, nobles who feed children to beasts for sport, elves and dwarves, once proud races, now driven into ghettos or hunted in the wild, victims of centuries-old genocide. Meanwhile, the Church of the Eternal Fire spreads like a plague, preaching salvation while burning mages and non-humans at the stake. Their vision of purity leaves cities choking on smoke and corpses. Any deviation from their doctrine is met with fire, literally, and all over it, like a thundercloud ready to split the sky in two, there are ghostly riders who ride with scary purpose. They're death incarnate, harbingers of a deeper apocalypse tied to ancient elven prophecies and the long-forgotten conjunction of the spheres. The cataclysmic event that first brought monsters, magic, and men crashing into one shared reality. Ultimately, there are no chosen ones here, only those strong enough to endure, and even they do not come out clean.